We'll call to order the City of Douglasville City Council Legislative Work Session meeting for today, which is June the 28th. We'll have our invocation that will be done by Reverend Heather Jollard, Associate Pastor of the Douglasville First United Methodist Church. And after that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance that will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem Richard Siegel. Please stand for the invocation.
Mayor Robinson, council members, neighbors, would you bow with me? God of us all, I thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for health, for equipping and empowering us to fulfill our callings, and for community and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in important and useful work, and for the honor of bearing these responsibilities. You have placed each of the council members in these positions for such a time as this. Therefore, I pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular, for this assembled council. I'm asking that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a thirst for justice and rightness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony for the good of our community and its people, even when there is honest disagreement. I pray for personal peace in their lives and joy in their work. I pray tonight for the agenda set before them. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around Douglasville. All of this I ask and pray in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for leading us in the pledge. And Pastor Heather, we appreciate your kind words, and the invocation was a blessing. Announcements and presentations, we do not have any, but I will go over the protocol for the meeting tonight, and I ask that you would pay attention to that before we get into the agenda items. I'd like to welcome you again to the City of Douglasville's legislative work session. This is a work session where agenda items are presented tonight for discussion, and no official action will be taken tonight on these agenda items that are discussed. They will be taken on Monday. If the business you are here for is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time under the agenda item comments from Citizens and Delegates section for you to discuss your business. Just a few protocol issues I'd like to go over. I ask that you would keep your comments and presentations on a professional level, dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make their decision. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be of a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. You will receive a warning from the chair if you deviate from this requirement. A second deviation will result in a request for you to leave the chambers and the premises this evening. Only one person speaking at a time. Please do not applaud, react, or speak to others in the audience, cheer, carry on conversations, or be disruptive in any way. I'll remind you that we are only required to accept public comments on zoning matters. We are not required to accept public comments on other items before the council. We accept public comments on all items because we feel it enables us to make better decisions, but this is not a question and answer type of meeting. The committee chairperson, this is how the agenda items will go. The committee chairperson will read the agenda item, then the person representing the agenda item or applicant will make his or her presentation, and that will be the only opportunity for them to present. Then the mayor and myself and council members will possibly ask questions for the applicant to seek additional information. After that, the chairperson will ask for comments or statements from the audience. There will be a maximum time of 30 minutes for those to speak in favor of the agenda item. The applicant's presentation is included in that 30 minutes allotted time, and those who speak in opposition, 30 minutes as well. Each speaker has 5 minutes limited to speak as it relates to those items, and we have a unique sounding timer that will let you know when your 5 minutes are up. And if you would like to speak, there's a sheet that's outside the door that has the agenda items and a form for you to fill out and hand to the city clerk or our deputy for information. Ms. Ackers to my right. When you come to the podium, please provide your information form to the city clerk and tell us if you're for or against that item. Give your name and address for the record, and we'd be happy to hear from you. Again, this meeting is not a question and answer format. It's not a debate format. We're here just to hear information. If you would like to talk about any agenda item or anything else after that for comments from citizens and delegates at the end of the meeting. So we'll move on with the agenda. The first committee is Public Safety Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis. I don't know if your mic is on, Councilman. There you go.
Okay, adopt the resolution declaring the police canine known as Deco to be valued at least in $500 and authorized transfer of the animal to its handler in exchange for a signed waiver of liability. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Sue Ann Shaw, Douglasville Police Department, 2083 Fairburn Road. We are asking for the council to issue a resolution to retire K-9 Deco. He is an 11-and-a-half-year-old K-9. Officer Chris Williams has been his handler, and Chris was just promoted to sergeant. So it all comes together at a good time. Deco is actually here. If the mayor and council would like to
Yeah, we want to see him.
we could bring him in.
Yes, ma'am, please. We remember him. He's famous.
I didn't know if you wanted to take a retirement photo with him.
Is the dog okay with us?
The dog is here,
Okay,
yes.
just want to make sure.
You want us to take a photo, Deputy Chief?
If you'd like to take a retirement photo
Would
with him.
love to.
It's his
Yes,
retirement.
we would love to.
Okay.
We know him because, Officer Williams always has him in his
All
car.
right.
He's like famous.
He was here. If may I be excused to go find him? He just stepped out. I'll be right back.
Okay. He went back in the, is he hungry or something? He's going back in the car.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question while we're waiting? Chief Shaw, is there any particular reason why Deco needs to be retired? Is it just the end of his useful life? Is it time, or is
It
there
is.
health issues? Or?
A K-9 is usually 10, 11 years for useful police
Normal
service.
cycle then?
Yes, sir. So
Okay.
this is normal, and with Chris Williams getting promoted to sergeant, it just all came together about the same time.
So he'll become Officer Williams' personal
Correct.
pet?
Correct. He'll become his personal pet.
Okay, thank you.
Officer Williams? Officer Williams, congratulations. You got promoted. You're welcome. So we'll come around and take a photo, and then if there are any other questions, then we can ask at that time. So council members, please come around so we can take a photo with Officer Williams and Sergeant Williams now in Deco. All right, man.
Sarge, you would. Do you have any questions for Sergeant Williams?
Congratulations again, Sergeant.
Thank you. Any other?
He's going to transition well, do you think? From being in that car and going everywhere, he's just famous. He's been with us a long time.
He was doing good the first week,
Mm-hmm.
not so good. I think today kind of confused him a little bit,
Yes, sir.
coming back in. Now I'm about to go take him back home and put him back up, so yeah, he's not gonna be happy, so.
Oh. It's like us when we retire. We don't want to quit sometimes when they keep coming to work, so.
Officer, will you continue to have a dog as a part of your job, or will you be supervising the other dog handlers?
Night shift supervision.
Okay.
This rotation.
I see. Thank you. Well, congratulations. Thanks for what you do for our city.
Any other questions?
No, just a comment, Sergeant. I think that he is a buddy at home too. Your son, I met him today, and I think he's going to do well.
He's got a little 4-year-old to keep him company.
Yeah.
He'll be fine.
Yes.
A little bit of adjustment for him.
Thank you. He's adorable.
Enjoy the rest of his retirement.
Yeah.
He'll be 12 in February. So 11 and a half right now.
What's the name, how do you pronounce the name of that breed?
Belgian Malinois.
That's close, it looks close to a shepherd, is that related?
Have a cousin, this will be it.
Okay.
A lot more suited for what we do in this line of work, none of the health issues. So,
Well, he looks like he has a good temperament.
That's why.
Mr. Chairman, I was just wondering what the dog's, what his specialty is.
full service, well, dual purpose, training all 5 odors of narcotics, marijuana, methamphetamine, heroin, ecstasy, cocaine, and patrol.
What's the biggest bust he was ever part of?
He was right at 30 pounds of meth right on Highway 5 and a couple $100,000 in cash.
Dog.
He's had his share of bites. We recovered several guns for the city.
I was about to go into that, Madam Mayor. I had the opportunity to watch him work on an issue that came up where somebody had pitched some guns in the wooded part of a constituent taxpayer homeowner over off of Club Drive. And I didn't get too close while I was watching that, but he was able to. Did he uncover both guns or just both guns? So he actually found guns in the woods and in the back of a gentleman's house, and it was amazing to watch him cut and search those that area to find that gun. So very proud of him. It was enjoy seeing him. I'm kind of a dog guy myself, so just enjoy watching him work and appreciate your help with it, Chris. He doesn't love you at all.
I know, he's staring at us. That's his buddy. That's his buddy.
Love-hate relationship.
Thank you. Have any other questions? The chairman, are you?
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Chris, and thank you, Deputy Chief.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would clap, but I don't want to get Daco a little bit confused. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is Community and Economic Development
Mayor?
Committee. Oh,
I'm sorry, point of order. Are we putting this on the consent agenda or for Monday? Did we ever, I don't remember us discussing that.
you can put that on the consent agenda.
Yes, we'll put that on the consent agenda for Monday. Thank you.
Thank you so
What
much.
days of the week?
Yes, sir. But we're getting back from Savannah still. We're trying to
You're
get.
right.
Yeah. So thank you so much. So now we'll move on to the next agenda item, Community and Economic Development Committee. That's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Richard Siegel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No business tonight.
Thank you, sir. Planning and Development Committee, chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 2 items to discuss tonight. I think you've already covered the public hearing protocol, but I will mention it. We will be holding a public hearing on the first item here tonight for consideration of request for a variance from subsection 4.03.02B3A for a reduction of the required 50-foot front yard building setback by 36 feet to 14 feet to allow a canopy on a lot consisting of 1 acre in size at 5888 Highway 92, Fairburn Road, Douglasville, 30134, Georgia. In land lot 50, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 117, application by Chick-fil-A Incorporated. Is there someone here to represent this application? Just come forward, sir, if you would, and give us your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Stuart Anderson. Work for Interplan, 604 Cortlandt Street, Suite 100, Orlando, Florida, 32804. Here representing Chick-fil-A. I'm in support of this variance. I prepared the application and just like to make reiterate a few things that we mentioned in there. We are giving up 33 feet of right-of-way to DOT for the widening of Fairburn Road. That's one of the reasons why we're asking for such a big reduction in the building setback. The structure that's in question is it's a canopy, but it's more of a shade structure. It's part of Chick-fil-A's face-to-face program where they have their team members out in the drive-through lanes and taking their order directly at your car. They feel like they can get people through the drive-through faster this way, get them on and off the site, help reduce congestion on the roads around the site. By adding the shade structure, we're protecting the team members from the elements, giving them more opportunity to be out in the drive-through lane, taking orders, and keeping the drive-through moving quickly. So if there are any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I will open the floor for anyone on the council that may have questions of Mr. Anderson. Let me just ask a question, if I could, just to open it up. Basically, this is a canopy. That means that is it portable, or are you here seeking a variance because it is attached to the building? Is that correct? It is
not attached to the building. It's an accessory structure, but it is a permanent structure. It has 4 posts that mount in the middle between the 2 drive-through lanes. We have a multi-lane operation here where there's 2 menu boards, but there'll be 2 lanes and there'll be 4 posts in the middle, and the structure will hang over both lanes. It'll canopy over both lanes, but it is a shade structure. It's fabric. It's not metal. The only permanent structure is the posts that hold it up.
Okay, my other question, you're coming in off of Fairburn Road and you'll completely encircle the building and then pull to the shade structure in hot weather for your order to be taken. Is that correct?
Yes, can you repeat that again, please?
You'll pull off of Fairburn Road.
Yes.
You'll come completely around the building.
Yes.
And then you will approach and pull under the shade structure in order to order.
Yes, when you make the left and parallel Fairburn Road, that's where the shade structure is going to be.
Okay. Was there not any indication from DOT that you would have to give up this 33 feet initially? Or has this come about since you started and therefore you need the variance?
No, we knew we were giving up the right-of-way to begin with. We actually already have site plan approval and we're under construction on this project right now. So The layout is already set. The shade structure is an initiative that Chick-fil-A has brought about in the past year. And since this site is currently under construction, while it's under construction, they would like to add the shade structure. So it didn't really have anything to do with DOT. It's more a function of Chick-fil-A's new procedures and what they want to do with the new sites that are under construction.
I just asked that because you mentioned the fact that you had to give up 33 feet to the DOT, and I wasn't sure if that had come about since you started construction. That was a surprise, or if that was in the plan all along.
No, it was not a surprise, but it is a bit of a hindrance. It means the building has been pushed very far back because the building does meet the 50-foot setback. It's further back than the building was there before they tore it down. So we've already pushed the building back, and then just the configuration of the site, the best way to lay it out and keep the drive-through lane separate from the parking lot was to put it up against Fairburn Road. And since that's where the menu boards are, this is where the shade structure should go.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Questions?
Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Watts.
There's a good picture in the attachments. I'm sure most of y'all saw. I was at Chick-fil-A on Highway 5 just before coming to this meeting, and they're standing in the rain over there. So the structure like this would be definitely helpful to the efficiency of the drive-through. So I like the way it looks.
Mr. Siegel?
It's funny you say that, Coach Watts, because lunchtime today I was at the Chick-fil-A on Thornton Road, and the team members were out there standing in the sun and the heat. It wasn't raining yet at that time, and I felt bad for them, but they said it was their pleasure, so I like the idea of the canopy.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. They always say it's their pleasure. They're very polite. Thank you, Mr. Anderson, for coming in and explaining to us what you all would like to do. And just for clarity for the viewing audience, this part of DOT taking this footage is the $111 million project that's coming, the highway expansion from Highway 92, that's going the underpass for the train, and then it's going to come out on Fairburn Road to get to I-20. So that's part of that whole DOT project. That's what they're making room for, and it looks good. I'm excited every time I drive by this new Chick-fil-A. So we would love to have that canopy. Would help the people that work there. And
Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. I don't know if any more questions, Mr.
Just a
Mr. Miller?
comment. Sorry.
Mr.
Is this,
Anderson, they're still asking questions. It's okay.
We're not done with you
Just
yet.
another minute, I promise. It won't hurt. I
Okay.
promise. Go ahead, Mr. Miller.
Quick question, is this, has this been or is it intended to be part of the standard design for Chick-fil-A's in the future, this particular canopy?
Some sort of canopy. They have several options. This is one of the earlier versions. They have a metal option that they're developing right now, but this is the one that was chosen for this location. But yes, it's something you'll start to see in a lot of the Chick-fil-A's, especially the ones that get the remodel with the double drive-through lane, is to put some sort of shade structure, permanent shade structure, to protect the team members from the elements.
I have to say, I like it. I think it's a clever design. It's simple, but it has sort of elegance to it, and it's, you know, it has a nice uniqueness. It'll be nice to see those, you know, popping up around it. But you could, considering how badly it could have turned out, there's a lot of ugly awnings you could have put up, and I appreciate that somebody took some time to think this one through. So.
Well, you mentioned someone mentioned the site on Highway 5. We're actually in the works on doing something similar out there.
Mm-hmm.
So in the next year or two, you'll see a similar structure over on that one.
Just a comment. Thank you,
Yes.
Chair Terry. Where's your closest Chick-fil-A that has this model? Is it South Cobb Drive?
I don't know. Do you know
Carrollton?
Carrollton?
Carrollton has the first early model, yes.
I think it's awesome. I miss Chick-fil-A. Hurry.
Thank you.
Highway 5 we do, but you know, from where I live, it's like 7 minutes, but hurry. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from council? I want to ask Mr. Aaron, if you'd come forward just a minute, just while Mr. Anderson is there, just to see if there's any issues that you have seen or any concerns that you have with having this freestanding canopy 14 feet back of right-of-way. Is that what it would be?
No, I'm sorry. Aaron Ruffin, Interim Community Development Director. No, I don't have any concerns. I actually drove to the Chick-fil-A location yesterday in Brookhaven on my way home, and they actually have this canopy, and it actually blends in very well with the architecture of the building. So I don't foresee any issues with approving this.
My question would be, would there be a concern that you would have, not of how it would appear, how it would operate, but of the setback only being, it sounds as though you're going from 50-foot front yard behind right-of-way on Fairburn Road to 14 feet behind right-of-way on Fairburn Road. Is that what this application is requesting?
That's correct.
Okay. So that's a freestanding canopy 14 feet behind the right-of-way, not the curb, but the right-of-way.
But the right-of-way, yes.
Is there any concern on your part, as far as the city is concerned, that we would need to consider that may have ran past us or we may not be thinking about?
No, not at this time, no.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would speak here in support of this application? If not, is there anyone that would speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and Mr. Anderson, if you'll come back on Monday, we will have a vote and an action on this item. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you. Item B, consider a request for approval of a development plan for Silverman Bright Star Phase 2, plans dated June 6, 2018, for 40.28 acres at 7550 Wood Road, located in land lot 163, District 2, Section 5, Parcel 12. Application by Darrell Ray, Hughes Ray Company. I see that Mr. Howard Ray is here tonight. Mr. Ray, would you give us your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, sir. Good evening. My name's Howard Ray. I'm the owner and president of HRC Engineers, Surveyors, and Landscape Architects, 6554 East Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia.
Thank you, sir. Tell us about what your plan is here, Mr. Ray, if you would.
Okay, so this is a continuation of the first phase of the Silverman / Anderson project. I want to say the first meetings on this phase was maybe December 2016, early January 2017. The first phase building is up. That is the actual distribution side of the development, for lack of a better word, of the Anderson facility. So this would be expanding the distribution side a little bit and also adding the manufacturing component that was originally discussed. So basically, I'm trying to remember the exact square footage that it's adding. It's roughly an additional 345,000 square feet attached to the existing plus or minus 248,000. We'll be adding, because of the manufacturing component of this, there will be significantly more employees as part of this phase. So you'll notice that we've added a significant amount of parking. I want to say in the range of 400 plus, as well as we're adding, I think it's around 29 additional truck spaces that would actually, for distribution purposes, not counting the dock space. So same thing we presented to you back in December 2016, January 2017. This is just the finalization of that original site plan.
Okay. I want to make sure, Mr. Ray, that we understand before I open the floor to everyone else, and I had asked you this before the meeting. If I recall, the way this came about was we were asked to rezone 40 acres for the building of this to be done in 2 phases. And this would be the second phase of that first rezoning. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it's the original 40 acres that was zoned. The distribution center has been completed. Put us in perspective, if you will. If we were on Bright Star Road coming north, this site would be on our right. And what we see that's already built would be what is shaded here on our rendering. Is that correct?
Correct. On the rendering, it would be the shaded part to the top of the page.
So we already have that in place, and now what you're proposing or asking for on your development plan is for the area that is in white to be added to that building, actually attached to it. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Questions of council? Anyone have any questions for Mr. Ray? Mr. Miller?
Oh, yeah. Mr. Wright, this thing seems like the gift that keeps on giving. This is a new phase, or is this part of the second phase that was?
Yeah, originally in the original 40-acre zoning plan, this was shown as phase 2. So what's built now, building actually in place, this was shown as phase 2. So we went through the process of rezoning and we showed it holistic. But then when we went to the development plan process, I'm gonna say March, April 2017, that's when we were, really showed a little more detail of here's what we're gonna build as part of phase 1 and this being phase 2. So there has been, some parking shifts here and there, but, the concept is generally the same.
Okay, and you said this was going to add jobs. Is this going to add jobs to what we were initially told? Or is this, or are these new jobs that have come in since your initial application?
This would be a part of the initial application, which I believe the number was around 950 up to 1,000. It's part of those numbers.
Okay, and do you know what the pay range on those jobs are?
To be honest with you, Mike, I don't.
Okay, how many with this phase? This is the second phase, and the third phase is a building that will be rented out in the future for distribution into the future, right?
Yes, sir. That building, phase 3, which is on the south side of Wood Road, 330,000 square feet, I think. it has actually been designed where it could actually be separated into 4 separate components. I actually do have it here with me. So, but yeah, it's my understanding that that has not been leased yet, but that they are in the final stages of an agreement with someone that's looking to take down half of it.
So this is the manufacturing phase. There's a distribution phase that's already there.
As part of the Andersons, I'm gonna call everything north of Wood Road, I'm gonna call the Anderson phase, just because that's who it is. Yes, sir. Yeah, I think it's, I may get this percentages wrong, but I think like 30% more distribution, and then it's like 70% of this new phase would be the manufacturer.
Do we have an idea how many tractor trailers are being placed on Highway 5 or thereabout during the first phase?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, but I did misspeak last time we spoke, and so I did want to bring it with me, and I can leave it with you if I need to. I pulled out the traffic generation study, and basically for both phases 1 and 2, for this side of north of Wood Road, it's basically saying that on an average weekday that there would be 251 trucks total for phase 1 and phase 2, where I think the number we had discussed earlier was more like 400, and I was the one that said, yeah, I think that's about right. So,
But I think we were talking about with phase 3
and
in
then phase
there.
3 also, yes, sir. So
Okay.
anyway, I think you have this, but I'm more than willing to leave that with you. You know, but that's what this report based off of. They call it the Institute of Traffic Engineering standards. How they.
And those are going into Highway 5?
There is a breakdown of percentages. Shooting from the hip without digging it up, I want to say about 80% of those, yes, go into that intersection.
Has there been any improvements made to Highway 5 since these phases began?
I would say there's not been any actual construction improvements. The only thing I have seen that has been changed, I'm not going to say for good or better, has been the signal timing and the left turn. For instance, I noticed if you're looking towards 78 and you're trying to turn westbound on 20, now instead of immediately getting a left arrow, you're getting a caution left, and then you get it at the end. So has it made a difference? I can't speak to that, but I do know I'm trying to be nice here. There has been people messing with it. Whether it's good or bad or ugly, I can't speak to because I don't live, you know.
Well, they're probably messing with it because it's a really big problem.
Right.
And it's outside the city's control. It's outside of y'all's control. And unfortunately, this board or this council made a decision to allow this zoning before we really had the opportunity to understand how many phases were going to be made, and what was actually really coming in there. My concern here is that we keep getting changes from this and additions to it. I wish we would have had that to begin with, because this is a big deal. This intersection is outside of either of ours control. That intersection is a travesty already. And when we put 250 or 300 or 400 trucks, maybe 500, I've heard that number, trucks into that intersection, that is going to cause further problems that we are completely out of control on. And so I know, I mean, I was through there the other day and that light changed and I'm stuck out in the middle. I'm violating exactly what happened that I'm upset for other people to violate. And I can't do anything about it. I'm just stuck out there in the middle as the light changes. This is a very complicated situation. I hate that we've gotten ourselves into it. I hope we have limited future changes which add to the problem. But I think we kind of got the cart before the horse, as my mama used to say, or maybe the trailer before the tractor in this case. But when people sit there in limbo trying to get through that action, when I'm sitting there, I think of you. And so thank you for exacerbating this situation and can't wait to get more of those trucks on the road.
Could I ask a question, please, Mr. Miller? I want to ask it of Mr. Ray, but I want to ask it of the council. Mr. Miller, are you referring to getting the cart before the horse or making changes to the plan as to Mr. Howard Ray's plan that he's representing, or as to the DOT not taking action maybe that we wish they would? And the reason I ask that is because I don't think there has been a change, and I'll ask Mr. Ruffin to address this. If I'm not mistaken, when this was brought before council for zoning, it was presented as a rezoning of 40.28 acres with only a certain percentage of it being used as phase one to actually build, and then phase two to be built afterwards. I don't know if you're referring to the change that the developer has made, or the change maybe that the DOT has not made that you'd like to see. Which is it?
Well, my position is the DOT doesn't have to make any changes.
But
There
you'd
was
like for
no
them to,
thought.
and I respect that.
No, I wish we hadn't exacerbated the problem of the issue with that traffic intersection before we knew that there was any changes to be made by the DOT. I wish this council would have looked further into the situation that we were going to be putting in 400 to 500 trucks into that intersection a day. The way that this was presented initially was for phase one and for phase two. Then after we approved that, not even knowing who was coming there at that time, then they come and ask for a phase three. I just don't think we're doing our homework. So the cart before the horse is, if you want to be frank and asking about it, is this council not crossing our T's and dotting our I's when we're adding 500 trucks, 400 to 500 trucks, into an intersection that can't handle the traffic as it is. So I don't have any anticipation of what the DOT is going to do. I know better than to anticipate that. But what we have done, it's not our job to change zoning and then go ask the Georgia DOT to come in and fix our problems. We need to fully consider the situation before we allow zoning changes that causes problems to our constituents and the folks who use that road, when that road is not situated to handle the trucks that we are allowing going into that intersection. So that's the cart and the horse.
Okay. Mr. Ruffin, would you address that? I just want to make sure we're clear what we're discussing here.
Yes, I'll just add, I spoke with Mike Metler, the building official, prior to this meeting concerning this project, and he was able to confirm that what they have submitted as part of their phase two does not differ from what was submitted to you as part of their rezoning.
So this is basically then, from what you're saying, Mr. Metler has reported to you, since you were not with us at the time, this is the continuation of the first rezoning to finish using the 40.28 acres, phase two, as far as the building plan.
That is correct.
Okay. While I have you there then, before I defer to anyone else, is there anything about the development plan that you have found that has not been addressed or is not within our ordinance and our requirement?
No, it meets the standards.
Okay, and I want to always ask that, ladies and gentlemen, just because I don't know. I want to make sure that we don't have any issues or any surprises. Is there anyone else on the council that would have any question of Mr. Ray or of Mr. Ruffin?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Ray, you said a minute ago about the traffic study. Approximately how many trucks are we talking about with both phases are done? Did you say
251.
250. Okay.
Any other question? Any other comment from council? Yes,
Mr. Ray,
Miller.
the routes of the trucks the calculations based on the trucks number of trucks leaving the facility heading to the interstate, is that where they're pretty much all going to directly go the same route, or are they distributed into different directions?
They are dispersed. Like I say, shooting from the hip here, I think it was around 82% that was to the interstate. There was the next largest movement was left on, I think, 78. And I think it was around 10 or 12. And then the rest were, sort of more minor movements.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I just have one more on the traffic. So 250, and if I remember when we discussed this last, we're not talking about 9 to 5, 250. We're talking about those trucks being spread out for how, what period of time during the day? Is it 24/7, or is it high traffic times, low traffic times? I remember y'all talking about trying to avoid the high traffic times as
Yeah.
best you could.
I don't think they're 24/7 right now, but I think with this phase, as you expand some of the distribution and then you add the manufacturing, that it'll become more of a 24/7 operation.
So the trucks would be spread out, I guess is what I'm getting to.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Madam Chair.
That was
Madam
my-
Mayor.
Yes, sir, that was my statement I was going to make. Councilman Watts already said it. From my recollection, Mr. Ray, that some of those trucks, most of those would be during the evening, and it wasn't during high traffic time.
Right.
When citizens were on the road for distribution.
Yeah, that's sort of standard operating procedure as far as that. My dad was a truck driver for 35 years, so they're not going to drive in traffic if they can avoid it. So that that's sort of a learned operation. So pretty well in Atlanta, I think that's why you see the majority of the trucks going into Atlanta from here. Is more around 9:30 versus that peak.
Time. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Council have any other questions of either of these individuals? If not, is there anyone else here to speak in favor of this request for approval of a development plan? Like to make a comment? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Ray. We will take action on this on Monday night.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Ruffin. Madam Mayor, I have no other business under planning and development. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on to Parks and Recreation Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have one item tonight, to adopt a resolution revising the performance chart for the 2018 Wednesday Wind Down concert series. And it's my understanding that either Chelsea or Ms. Littlefield will be addressing this.
I'll help you with that, Mr. Chairman. As we have gone on to implement the resolution that has the Wednesday Wind Down artists named in it, several of the artists that were in your resolution are wanting to sign their names a little bit differently than you passed, but for one of the groups, the individual is going to be different. It'll still be the same musical group, but it's a different individual entirely, and we keep a close watch and do that exactly as it is in the resolution for this particular series. So we'd like you to revise your performance chart to be more in line with what we're seeing in the artist contracts as they sign them with us.
And that also had to do with the checks being made out to the correct artist.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have any questions from Mayor and Council?
I do, Mr. Chairman. On the schedule for the performers, I know we've had some rain dates, and one last night. It was a Wednesday wind down day, but it rained. So what are we doing about the performers? I'm certain we don't pay them because they haven't performed, and what do we do? Do we have extensions of those performance dates, or how does that work?
That's not
Madam Mayor?
something I
Yes, sir,
can help
Mr.
you with.
Once they rain out, they will come back as an opening act at 7 o'clock on the throughout the summer, which is available.
So they'll come back the next week?
No, whichever one that don't have a opening act, they will come back and start at 7 o'clock.
Oh, so, yeah, but that's what I'm saying, Councilman Davis. So if for example, the date was the 27th,
Ma'am.
last night, and it rained, so Mr. Barnum or Nature of the Soul will come back on the July 11th or another night and start at 7 o'clock?
It'll be one of those nights, either the 11th or the 18th.
Okay, all right, thank you.
One question I had, Councilman Davis. So the folks that are there specifically or were there wanted to come and see that particular artist, when will we know, like, who they're going to open for, just so that maybe folks that wanted to see that particular artist would know?
Well, believe me, Facebook, Jason will revise it. They'll come out.
Mayor and Council, Mayor and Council, our Community Relations Department will follow up with all the individuals and see what dates that they are available to perform as opening acts. And from there, we'll send out information on our website as well as our Facebook posts to inform the public of when they will be performing on opening acts.
Thank you. That'll be good. Any other questions, comments? Okay, if it's all right with everyone, I'd like to place that on the consent agenda for Monday. And Madam Mayor, that's all we have tonight under Parks and Recreation.
Thank you so much, Coach Watts. We'll move on to agenda number 9, Finance Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No business.
Thank you, sir. Information Technology Committee, chaired by Councilmember Miller T.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 2 items tonight. First is to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with the Cobb County Board of Commissioners and the Douglas County Board of Commissioners for cooperative use of governmental radio communication assets. And Ms. Wright here will explain a little bit more about that.
Yes, hi, good evening. Kara Knight, City of Douglasville, 6695 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia, Communications Coordinator. This is continuing an IGA that we've had with Cobb County for a number of years. This one will be between Cobb County, Douglasville, and Douglas County. Douglas County has a master site switch, which we are part of. It's used for interconnecting radio systems to create a wide area radio system and seamless interoperable communications between these areas. Current systems on the network are Cobb County, Forsyth County, City of Douglasville, and Bartow County. They're looking to add Cherokee County in the very near future. So they're currently expanding. Cobb County and Douglasville, we've had an IGA since the mid-90s. This continues that relationship and is including Douglas County since they'll be joining our system in the near future. Some of the highlights of this agreement, Cobb County will not pass any cost on per radio subscriber for use of the Cobb's master site system, so it's no charge, and we don't charge them to use our equipment. Cobb will repair and maintain their radio equipment owned by Cobb and use in connection with their system. Douglasville will maintain our equipment on the system and provide access as needed. All the systems will allow no less than 5 talk groups for each system on the wide area roaming. This is for when we have officers from Cobb County close to the Thornton Road area and us in that same area, so we can roam onto each other's networks for coverage. And we've been doing that for years anyway. And this is a 20-year agreement. Y'all have any questions? This is not related to our second tower site or any of that. That's something else.
Thank you, Ms. Knight. Any questions or comments, Madam Mayor?
I did, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much, Ms. Knight. So this really does help the police department if someone were to unfortunately do a crime or steal or whatever, and they've left the county and they're in Cobb or in another area, that they're able to communicate with the radios. Okay. Or even fire or police or ambulatory services, they have interconnectivity.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional questions or comments from the council? Any questions or comments from the public? Okay. Second item is to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with WEBQA, Inc., amending the parties' master agreement of June 22nd, 2016, to add services for electronic invoicing for open record services. Who has that one?
Yes, Mayor and Council, good evening. That would be a invoicing module added on to our open records request system. And this would allow us to be able to send estimates to the requesters when they send in for information. And it just would compose the invoices for us. And it was not part of our budget. It would be $2,100. And annually, it would be $1,600. But it would be an amendment to our budget.
Any questions or comments from the mayor or council? Yes, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Vicki, if you can please give us your name and address for the record. I know we know who you are, but you know.
I am so sorry.
She is the name and address.
Vicki Acker, 6695 Church Street.
City Clerk. Yes.
Thank you for covering for me, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
I should have asked that.
Okay.
Any additional questions?
Just one question. Ms. Vicki, will this make it more efficient?
Yes, ma'am, it will.
And you're having to do things by hand now, I'm assuming?
Yes, we're having to manually create those invoices in Word and just calculate it or do it in Excel, but this system will allow us to keep up with the time that each staff member spends on gathering information.
Thank you. No other questions? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Danley. Any further questions, comments? Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, if there's no objection, I would like to place both of these items on the consent agenda for Monday. Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all I have for under Information Technology.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on to item 11, the Maintenance and Sanitation Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Miller M.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight.
Thank you so much, Councilman. Transportation Committee, chaired by Dr. LaShawn Danley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One item, authorize the mayor to sign a change order number 2 to the city's agreement of April 18, 2018 with Jackson Paving Company, Inc. for deep patching and asphalt leveling for the city's SPLOS 2018 SPLOS paving project. Mr. Roberts.
Thank you. Greg Roberts, City of Douglasville Maintenance and Sanitation Department. Sanitation at douglasvillega.gov is a great way to get in touch with me. Address is 8578 Club Drive. Zip code is 30134. To the mayor and members of council, you may recall that I had mentioned that I would probably be coming back. A few weeks ago, I came in and asked for some bituminous coat tackifier material. And so one of the other things that had been left out inadvertently of the original submission was these deep patch areas. And just to sort of give you an explanation of what a deep patch is, it's where the road is alligatored and there's probably some flex to the roadway, and so it's not a solid surface. You can mill over it in some area, or mill it and resurface over it in some areas, but other areas you have to go down to the road base material, which is the rock material, and then at that point in time you make a determination to whether you have to deal with any of that base or subgrade issue. And typically this has happened on some of our streets that are more than 20 years of being resurfaced. We got a lot of our streets that's not been resurfaced in more than 15 years. And so this is to allow us to have monies in this agreement to handle some of those areas. And I know one of the questions that could come up with the mayor and the council on this issue is whether or not this is something dollars-wise that creates an advantage for the person that got the contract versus those who didn't get it. And no, it's not. And for example, had we went with one of the other contractors at a higher quantity rate, we would still have to have come back to this, and it would be at a higher quantity rate, if that makes sense. So we're still well within the scope of the work and the budget the scope of the budget that we originally had. This is a quantity base, so you will see here that the dollar total here was based on the quantities, and so the dollar total is $356,000. Now, it could be that we get close to that, but my expectation is that we've been very conservative on the estimate here, and we will end up well below that dollars-wise. But we will keep a check on it. But there are some of our streets, in fact, if you have driven down Rose Avenue in the last day or so, we've done some deep patching on Rose Avenue. Fortunately / unfortunately, the weather continues to have a thunderstorm, so they weren't able to work at all today because the morning started with rain, and they almost went out at 10 o'clock today with me telling them to get out there and get to work. But I will have to say they made the right decision, because by 1 o'clock they would have been in a mess. And so so it's just one of those things that you deal with. But if there's any questions on this, I will entertain those and try to answer them to the best I can.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Just a question, moving forward, I'm glad to know that we are still within budget. However, moving forward, how will Jackson Paving Company be able to be proactive in the streets that there may be additional deep patching?
Well, this is going to cover any additional deep patching. And so I do not expect to come back to you at all with anything else. It would have to be something so outrageous that neither myself nor the contractor could have foreseen. For example, if we were to do a deep patch section over a pipe, and we do that deep patch and then come to the realization that the pipe has to be replaced. And depending on where that's at, we've got to replace that pipe right then and there. And so between my forces and the contractor forces, we would have to do it. That's the only thing that I can foresee in this conversation. It's very hypothetical, but that is like a worst case scenario if we were to hit some utility type issue that I just cannot foresee at this time. But you know, it's like anything else. Once you open it up, you see what the issue is that's causing the surface problem.
Are there any, yes?
Mr. Roberts, I guess I understand, I want to understand and make sure that I do. When you look at the cost of the $356,000 change order, I think what you're saying is that we will be charged on a unit basis according to the various gallons of bituminous tack coat or leveling or deep patching. We will not write Jackson a check for $356,250 unless it takes those totals of that material, correct?
That's absolutely correct. So, for example, there's 2,000 tons of deep patching here.
Right.
That's based on what we see and know now, that is a high estimate. And so the only way we get it, and that's expensive. That's $128 a ton that they've estimated. Mm-hmm. And typically, when I estimate it for a job going out, I estimate it higher than that. So that's a relatively conservative for us price on deep patching.
Okay. Just want to make sure I understood. Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Madam Chair. I did have a quick question. Mr. Roberts, it says the contract time will be increased or decreased by 0 days. So they're able to, is it like a dentist? Once you in there to do the filling, you just keep on doing it so you don't have to have additional time? I don't understand if you have to do deep patching that you had not anticipated, how it wouldn't impact the time frame.
Well, what he's saying here is that we've given him a time frame to be done toward October and November of this year.
Yes, sir.
Now, that's short of things beyond their control, such as rain. We're not going to complain too much about the rain.
Yes, sir.
Normally, we're in a drought right now. But things they can't control weather-wise, this will not hinder the job too much. When you consider days and months, it won't. It might hinder it by hours or a few days while they're at a particular site.
Yes,
it does take more time to do deep patching than just milling. But this overall for the 58 streets, this will not impact that greatly at all.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilman Millerty?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Roberts, are we treating this estimate as an estimate or as an upset max? I mean, I know you're being very conservative. You think it's highly unlikely that they'll fill out the entire amount that they're estimating, but should that unforeseen circumstances occur and they go over, let's say, a couple thousand or 20,000, are we treating this as an upset max, or that we're limiting it to that amount, or are we going to come back with another change order?
Well, and unfortunately, I say unfortunately, maybe I can explain it. So they put this total dollar figure on here because that totals up the estimated tonnage, and then each estimated tonnage has a dollar value per unit. And so they've totaled this up, which comes to $356,000. So for example, if we only use 1,200 tons of deep patching, it'll be considerably less. And so hopefully I'm explaining it to you, because your question is similar to Mr. Adams in a way. This is quantity based, and as bad as I hate to tell you, if it were to run more than this, it'd probably be more of my fault than it would the contractor, because I may identify more deep patching that I feel like needs to be done.
So the quantity estimate was internally generated, is that what you're saying?
It was agreed upon between us after riding the streets and looking at them and agreeing on what needed to be needed to have deep patch on it.
Okay.
And so we knew that immediately, and once he got started on the job, particularly off of Presley Mill Road, we did a couple of subdivisions over there and realized that some of those streets had been put in probably in the 80s, and they didn't even have 3 inches of asphalt, whereas we were expecting to have 4+ inches, and we were hitting rock by just milling off 2 inches. We were hitting the gravel already, and so we had to deal with it in the process.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So, Mr. Roberts, so your estimate for Rose Avenue and Presley Mill, what is the estimate amount for those streets?
Well, when I mentioned, I don't have an estimate for that for a specific street, but when I mentioned Presley Mill, there's a couple of subdivisions that were on that list of 58, and they started in that general area, and so that's what my reference was, to Presley Mill. To Rose Avenue, a good bit of Rose Avenue has got to have deep patching, and they've done a good portion of it. Unfortunately, tomorrow's Friday. They most likely will not get finished deep patching this week, and so they'll be back the week of July 9th. This contractor and most contractors in this field, even their suppliers, shut down the week of July 4th, and so they will not be open next week. I knew that going in. They've done that for all the years I've dealt with them. And so unless they make an exception, they won't be working next week. Not sure that we even want them to, but there's a lot of deep patching that has to happen on Rose Avenue, particularly near the entrance of Rosewood and the fairways from there back down toward West Pines.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Do anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you.
Okay, no other items under transportation. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Thank you, Dr. Danley. We'll move on to Personnel and Organization Committee. That's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Richard Siegel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No items tonight.
Thank you, sir. Ordinance and Intergovernmental Committee, chaired by Councilmember Mike Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight.
Thank you, sir. Education and Training Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
No business tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Communications Committee, also chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
No business tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I will open up the floor for other business from council members. Before I do that, I was just going to run over a couple of things. Mr. Roberts, if you don't mind, I apologize, put you on the spot. I received an email, and I believe you responded, but of course I was in Savannah for a lady with her receptacles. She said that her lids or something came up, and she's elderly and she has arthritis problems, and so she said something about the rain came into the receptacles and she couldn't move them, and so she wanted new lids. Did you?
Where was this?
Okay, I need to send you the email. I thought she CC'd you on it as well.
And she could have emailed another staff member.
Okay.
But I can get with you after this if you want to.
Yes, sir. I have the email in my office. I'll have to give that to
apologize.
you. That's okay. And then the other one was I have had several complaints from, and it's not just Wednesday Wind Down, but those were the last two, about mosquitoes in the city. I know we used to spray. We had a mosquito sprayer, and now there's something, I don't know if it's EPD or where it's come from, but we don't spray anymore because of the bees. Are the bees going to be extinct, or I don't know. I can't get stung by a bee because I'm allergic, but I don't want to get stung by mosquitoes either, to get West Nile. So what's going on with the spraying in the city with bees and mosquitoes?
Well, I will have to get back to you on that. Maybe I can Monday night, but we're a little bit limited on the bees information. We've had information from a couple of people that say that they don't want it sprayed in their neighborhood. I will tell you that the rain and the weather pattern that we've been in, it makes it difficult to do the spraying because it needs to be a still night. Our material can't be sprayed in the daytime, and it needs to be on a still evening with no wind, very limited wind. And also our spraying, we're one of the last agencies to do the way we do it. And I've had many conversations with the state epidemiologist team. Hopefully I said that right. But and I can't think of her name right now, and she's came out on a few occasions. And she says we can continue doing that, but it's not the most effective way. The most effective way is for people to handle mosquitoes on their own property. And so this does give an opportunity to hopefully give some light to our citizens and to the mayor and council Make sure there's no standing water on your property, which includes your gutters, potted plants, and I don't mean to single out senior citizens because I'm right there at the door, but sometimes, and I know with my mother-in-law, she's 87, and she likes her potted plants, but she don't like the mosquitoes, and so you have to go with potted plants, and I'm not prepared to name species of plants, but you have to go with plants that mosquitoes don't like. But the standing water, even in a potted plant where you go and pour the water in, that moist soil will attract mosquitoes and they can bed there. They love water puddles, they love buckets of water, they like it in the back of an old truck sitting in the yard. Mosquitoes will be drawn to that water, and the spraying that we do along the street just will not handle that. Now, it probably is effective, and I won't name any subdivisions because that'll imply to people that we're spraying somewhere and not somewhere else, and that's not the case. But some of the subdivisions that have more of a tree canopy covering the street in those areas, it's probably more effective in those areas. But on a street like I live on, where there's not a huge street canopy, it probably just makes me feel better to hear that truck drive by, but it's probably not going to be that effective. I know people think it is.
Yeah, so we don't do it anymore?
Well, we're doing some that we hadn't got back on schedule this year for a number of reasons that I won't go into right now. It's just not really been discussed with you guys, and I apologize for that.
Okay, well, I just know it is missed, and people are noticing, and from, like I said, I've gotten some concerns from Wednesday Wind Down that the mosquitoes are plentiful.
Yes, and we were unable to spray last week because of the employee got sick, and I wasn't aware that he wasn't able to do it until it was too late to do it.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Roberts. I appreciate you allowing me to put you on the spot. You're welcome. The other, I just wanted to congratulate, during our annual conference in Savannah, we had council members who received accommodations. Our Mayor Pro Tem received accommodation, a certificate, was it of excellence? Achievement, which is excellent. Excellent is achievement is it. And Council Member Samuel Davis, who is our Education and Training Chair, had 3 recognitions. Tell us what they were, please, Councilman. You had a plaque, and it was like the Academy Awards. You had a lot going on.
Well, one of them was the leadership conference, and another one was distinction, and another one was distinction also. And the big one was when they roll the barrel, where you sang your name and put it in the barrel, and guess whose name came out? Sam Davis.
All right now. So that was very good.
Thank you.
And congratulations to them. I'm not sure, Councilman Watts, I know you did one the last time for Mayor's Day. You received a certificate, correct? I know you just had one recently, too. It's a lot that we're getting confused because we're doing so well. So thank you for the council members for taking the time to go to training, and myself, so that we can better educate ourselves to run the city. Is there any other business from council members tonight?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
2 things.
Yes, sir.
One, in reference to your question to Mr. Roberts, I think I remember reading an email from him with attachments that showed pictures. I'm pretty sure he responded to that lady and said that he was going to follow up with his folks. And if I remember that email correctly, you sent, there were pictures of the garbage cans that were the problem and that she was complaining about. Anyway, I think I remember him saying in his email that he was going to address that, and thanked her for letting him know.
Good, I have to.
And the other thing, I had a question for Ms. Acker. Ms. Acker, these notebooks that we had when we went to Savannah, are y'all responsible for that?
Yes, sir.
Well, I just want to say that we were the most organized group down there, because I'm going to tell you, those notebooks were fantastic. Really appreciate the work that went into those. Very well organized, and they were great. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'll second that
And
motion
a lot
as
of
well.
thanks goes to Ms. Heather.
Thank you, Ms. Heather.
Worked very hard on
Excellent.
these.
Good job.
Ms. Heather, thank you. I want to make a comment too. I did mention earlier it was phenomenal. I wish that you had been around when I was getting my doctorate. You would have been awesome organizing my notebooks. It was awesome. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. Any other businesses coming before the council tonight from council members?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to announce that the parade on when is it, Wednesday? Wednesday, and there will be no jazz concert, so enjoy your families and the parade and the fireworks.
Oh, you're talking about the 4th of July? Okay. Yeah, so I'll make my 4th of July was in the paper, I believe today that the, and I've already announced it, but I'm just excited to say it again. Our Grand Marshal is 3-time Olympian Alana Myers-Taylor, so we're very, very excited about that. She just was at the BET Awards. She was nominated for Athlete of the Year, received her doctorate from George Mason, honorary doctorate degree, so she's doing really, really well, and we're excited that she's able to come back home to be our Grand Marshal for our 4th of July parade. And there are some changes with the mall, which I was going to talk about on Monday. They'll still receive citizens to come and watch fireworks at Arbor Place Mall, but they will have a canned food drive as well as food trucks there at the same time. So just a little more things added to that experience. Okay, yes, sir, Mayor Pro Tem?
Just want to brag on our city manager who's hiding in the back of the auditorium in Savannah. She did a great job at both the rapid-fire large city sessions as well as concurrent sessions talking about both our HR and our police departments, and the other representatives from other cities who were there listening to all this really got a lot of great information from her.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem. You're exactly right. She was hiding. I missed her head back there. So thank you so much, City Manager. And there is a cutout of our City Manager, and it's been appearing all over the city.
Does she get to take that home, or?
Yeah, I'm not even going to say one place where it was, but it's been at different places all over the city. So we're excited that you were honored and at our annual conference. Everyone all over the state, all the elected officials could see our City Manager, and our police department had a banner as well, Deputy Chief, talking about youth against violence in collaboration with the county. So that was a nice write-up for the police department, too. Okay.
Madam Mayor? No.
Yes, sir.
I want to say, I'm sorry that I wasn't able to attend the GMA with everyone else, but I've heard so many great things coming out of it. It sounds like it really was a good experience. I had a professional obligation to attend the American Institute of Architects convention in New York at the same time, so we had a conflict. But I can say that it did take a lot of good classes.
Oh, good.
Some pretty boring ones, but some very good ones. Also very much in line with. I tried to tailor them according to urban planning issues and some of the tours that were related to that. So, but it sounded like you guys had a it's very productive weekend down there. I'm glad to hear that. So.
Yes, sir. Well, welcome back, and we envy you being in Manhattan and going to plays, but we're excited that you're back too, Councilman. Yes, yes, sir.
I also want to brag on our communications department on the great job they did in Savannah. Set up an on-site television station for the Georgia Municipal Association. Anybody can go to the city's YouTube channel and see some of the footage that they've done out there, and they did a great job as usual, 10 years or so in a row now.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much.
GMA pays for them to do that.
Not any city taxpayer dollars. Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. So now we'll move on to reports. Our city attorney, Mr. Joel Dotson.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, sir. Chief Assistant City Attorney, Ms. Susan Littlefield.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Chief of Police, that's our deputy over there, Sue Ann Shaw.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. City Manager, Assistant City Manager, Ms. Chelsea Jackson.
Yes, ma'am. Just a few announcements. First, I want to say congratulations to the council members who received recognition at GMA, as well as our city manager and our police chief, as well as our community relations department who did a fine job. I also have a few announcements regarding the upcoming events. We do have Food Truck Friday. The location will be at Mercer University, Douglas County. That's 975 Blairs Bridge Road. It will be from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow. As well as we also have the July 4th celebrations throughout the city on July 4th. The parade will begin at 10 a.m. and you all should receive an email from Ms. Katrina Davis earlier today as it relates to riding in the parade and what time to arrive. As well, it will be a festival at Hunter Park from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The festival will have food, fun, entertainment for the entire family. And starting at dusk, if you want to go by West Pines Golf Club, as well as many other locations in the city to enjoy food, fun, and fireworks as well. Also, since Wednesday is a holiday, trash will be picked up on July 5th.
Okay. Thank you so much, Assistant City Manager. City Manager, do you have anything? Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so comments from citizens and delegates. Now is the opportunity. If you have endured the meeting and you'd like to come and address the council, we'd love to hear from you. I'm going to put someone on the spot. I don't know if I've been knowing you your whole life, but it's Dr. Nicholas Greer. If you don't mind coming to the podium, Nicholas. He wanted to observe council tonight. He started at Columbus State. He's from Georgia. Undergrad at Columbus State, and he moved on and received his PhD in Chicago, and now he is academia, but he's thinking about politics. So he wanted to come while he was home visiting his family to observe one of our council meetings. So Nicholas, just tell us, maybe when I met you when you were 3 or 4, I would say. Anyway.
I think so.
Yes, sir.
So certainly want to thank Mayor Robinson for the chance to connect with you. I'm a professor currently at Claremont School of Theology in Claremont, California. As she said, I knew her since I was a very young child in Atlanta, growing up in a church there. But I did about 10 years of graduate school work in Chicago, and did a lot of work with faith communities while I was there, as well as work with the mental health professionals there. So advocating for the mental health of those who are marginalized. So this has been a great opportunity for me to sit in with you. So thank you for this pleasure to connect with you.
Give your name and address for the, I don't know if you're addressing Atlanta or California or Chicago, wherever you are.
Sure. So I'm at Claremont School of Theology, which is 1325 North College Avenue in Claremont, California.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Greer. You're welcome. Any other comments from citizens and delegates? Now, yes, ma'am?
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, I meant to make a comment. Our training in Savannah was awesome, but I just wanted to give kudos to our police department, and I did let the chief know. I do appreciate, and Deputy Chief, I do appreciate the time that we are away. Our police department makes sure that our homes are safe. Mm-hmm. I received a phone call from my daughter, my oldest daughter, Courtney, stated that unfortunately, I don't know who left the back door open, but my back door was open over through the night. Mm-hmm. Our police, the police that is in my area, stopped and went into the home and made sure that my children were okay. My grandchildren were there. Of course, Courtney assured me. She used to be a police officer herself, so she said, "Mom, if the police hadn't gotten here, if somebody came in, I could handle it." So I said, "Thanks, Courtney." But I just want to say thanks to the police department. I really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other comments from citizens and delegates or council members? Okay, staff reports. Madam City Manager. And talk to us.
Marcia Hampton, 6695 Church Street. Just to let you know, we wanted to give you an update on where we are in your maintenance and sanitation facility, request for qualification in that process to get us started in construction. If you look at your attachment on page 1 of 22, you'll see the schedule. You'll look at today. Today's date is June 28th, and it indicates that we've conducted some interviews today, which will be followed by a shortlist notification. And on Monday, we're anticipating you reviewing the final selection. If you go to page 8 of 22 on the RFQ that you adopted, you will be able to see on that page the individual reviewer. Basically, it talks about the individual screening criteria. So you will see that the review committee, which consists of our engineers, the finance director, and our maintenance and sanitation director, that they had specific things that they were looking at as it relates to reviewing the list for qualifications. If you go to page 11 of 22, you will see on that page the group review. It details the selection process, the proposal review committee, and what they were looking for. On the next page goes into the interview and presentation process. And then if you look at page 15, you'll see where it talks about the submittal and recommendation of the highest ranked firm based on qualifications to you all. So that's what you will see. Once the committee submits to me their findings, their documented information based on what's in this proposal, that's what we will be discussing with you all on Monday. So We're getting close, so if you get any calls, this is the process that you all approved several months ago for us to follow, and we're following it to the letter. So we will have more information for you on Monday.
Thank you so much,
Questions?
City Manager. Any questions for the City Manager as it relates to this maintenance building and the RFQ in that process?
So we do have committee meetings on Monday.
Yes, you will have committee meetings on Monday. Thank you all.
Thank you, Madam City Manager. Any other comments, any other staff reports?
Madam Mayor, I'd just like to say, Marcia, I did not get to attend your classes, but I heard that they were really, really great. And today we were at the ceremony for Sergeant Williams, and his son had on a T-shirt that said, "See me fly." So I asked him, I said, can I see you fly? And I wanted to say to you, Marcia, I don't know how you do it. You're organized. You're amazing. And I'm not just saying that just because, but I just see you everywhere. And it's really nice to know that when we go out of state, that people are always giving you kudos. And I just want to say, I really appreciate your work. Thank you.
I appreciate the trust that you all have in me and the flexibility and the allowances to do the things that I'm able to do. I appreciate it. My family appreciates it. Even in the rain, as I'm playing bus driver, and said, I got to get to work, I got to get to work. So, and they're like, have you never been late to council meeting? I said, no, I have never been late to council meeting. So, but Chelsea's here to stand up for me, so I appreciate that, and I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, City Manager. Thank you, Dr. Danley. It's always great to get flowers while you're here. Okay. Any other comments? Any other staff reports? We don't have anything else? All right, you have endured. If not having any other business to come before the council tonight, this meeting is adjourned.